So, morality we were talking yesterday, isn't it? It is about so when we use the term moral, so the moral has an inherent quality. That inherent quality is about something, rightness or wrongness. In everything we do not see rightness and wrongness. Only in some of the things we try to see rightness and wrongness. No. Do we see in all conducts whether they are right or wrong? Or we see only in some conducts? Whether our all conducts are subject to evaluation as right or wrong? And that right and wrong we can say in terms of the moral quality. Or some of the conducts are as they are? No. So let's say that you can say you like your optional, isn't it? You like your optional. So there is no any moral aspect in that. You like it, isn't it? So this way we can consider the something you may like, something you may dislike. This. So you may like to study in morning, you may like to study late night, isn't it? So that conduct has no moral aspect. Can we say? There is no any moral, let's say that. All human conducts do not have moral aspect. This you have to understand. Which we have written inherent moral element. All human conducts are not necessarily subject to scrutiny from right and wrong perspective. They can be considered as good or bad. They can be considered as this or that way, like likes and dislikes, but they may not necessarily have moral elements. This. But there are some of the conducts which we say as right and wrong on the basis of moral aspect. This. So that's why let's say otherwise, let's say then both values and morality both will be different. Sorry, both will be the same, which we'll talk one day. What are the differences between them? We have to understand difference between values, morality and ethics. If you understand the difference, you'll understand ethics conceptually. Otherwise, difficult. Even without understanding also you can qualify. It is not needed. Anyhow, what we are trying to say is, yesterday we tried to explain about ethics. And that's also not very detailed. It's just a general aspect to tell in the first class how we can tell about ethics. And we told that ethical conduct, so it is based on established standards. Those established standards are nothing but normative theories. And those normative theories are nothing but moral philosophies. So there are moral philosophies given by moral philosophers. And they have their own logics and rationality behind that moral philosophy. Like if, let's see, virtue ethics talks about agent theory or it talks the quality of human character, so then it has its own logic. Deontology has also its own logic, and utilitarian has also its own logic. This which one day again will explain them, what the logics they have in details. And they are we considered as established standards. Then we are talking about morality. And morality, when we say the term morality, so it is related to your own individual standards. As per your own individual thinking, every individual has his or her aspects of right and wrong. She considers on the basis of this or that. No, you'll have your own understanding. When you say someone has moral, someone has immoral, someone has right or someone has wrong, or someone, let's say, that having good conduct, someone has bad conduct. This, so you may say he is a right person. So you may have your own moral standards, and on the basis of that moral standards, you try to evaluate this, and that moral standards. This is how your belief and values, and it has certain inherent element. This, the day we say moral, right? He is a moral person. Not necessarily you can say right person. We say also he is a moral person. We use also some other terms. No, public morality also we use in your paper second, isn't it? Public morality. So there can be, let's say, there is morality of society. When we say society is not moral, society is less moral. So what does it mean? We say it, isn't it? COVID time we gave example. COVID, especially second wave time. So whether society was showing its moral conduct, not necessarily. When you are charging instead of 500, 5,000, so for what morality it is, isn't it? So that moral aspect you can say. So these things are based on individual understanding. Simply because let's say most of the people do not study morality and ethics. They have just developed as they have grown up on the basis of societal knowledge, understanding, tradition, custom, etc. Isn't it? Even suppose this ethics paper is not introduced, so you will also not study, will also not teach. Isn't it? If it is not introduced, so we will not know this. So ethicality or ethics can have academic aspect also. That's why we have told normative science. Ethics is a field of normative science. So morality we have, or moral values that we have, which we have grown in ourselves, or we have somehow, let's say that this or that aspect of moral standard we have on the basis of the society we belong. Largely we are belonging to a particular society, and then we presume that we belong to the entire world. No, we belong to a particular society. Even if we do not know the entire world, but still we say that we think as if this is the only value, and this is only the right way. This, anyhow, will come to that aspect. So if anyone thinks, let's suppose Mr. A, he thinks that war is, he can give preference to war. Right. For him, he may morally justify this war. His belief says that there should be war. This, it is his moral standard, isn't it? Or there are, let's say, people, they want eye for eye, isn't it? This, so an eye for eye, this, there should not be forgiveness, rather there should be revenge. Because forgiveness is a sign of weakness. So they can have also, let's say that, This, they can have individual their standards. This is how. Or further, let's say that ki society, we further go in our society, you can see in family itself, other aspects, very strong, those sensitive matters that we were talking yesterday. So in our society, largely, let's say that ki we have some strong moral beliefs related to some of the things, which we can say that ki Mr. A can consider those who are vegetarian as moral. No. And those who are non-vegetarian, they are immoral. Isn't it? यही तो fight है हमारे society में. So this will find is, it is linked to many other larger aspects. This moral aspect will say further, when issues happen related to society, some issues related to, let's say that girls basically in schools. So what people try to impose? Dress code, isn't it? Why they are imposing dress code? Because they think if women are properly dressed, so they will not be harmed. No. At times that issue comes. Is it like that? So if women are not properly dressed, so it is, let's say, invitation to this and that kind of people have belief. So the question is that this kind of, let's say that who has that kind of beliefs, or who, let's say that has that kind of moral standard. This, or you have society in which for male members there are different standards, for female members there are different standards. Can we say this? So these are all, let's say that the basis of individual. Individuals can, you as an individual, what you have your own standards in terms of moral belief, that you will consider, on that basis you will consider any conduct as right or wrong. This, that is how morality. Then question comes ki how it is related to ethics, and whether morality and ethics both are same or both are different. If they are different, how they are different. Then whether we can have complete demarcation of line between morality and ethics, or if not, so how they influence each other. This, that is what we have to understand. If you understand this moral aspect, what is morality? So let's take that relationship between morality and ethics. Because nothing to dictate here, will dictate when we'll take morality and ethics. This. So two columns you can write. One side you can write ethics, other side morality. No, so we have already talked about ethics. So we'll repeat a bit of those things. So let's write on ethics side. It is based on established standards. It is based on established standards. Established standards. In bracket, universal standards. Universal standards. Morality side, you write, it is based on individual standards. Individual standards of conduct. Individual standards of conduct. Okay. Next, it is a field of normative science. Ethics side, it is a field of normative science which also sets moral principles. which also sets moral principles. Morality side we can write. It is an act of evaluation of conduct on the basis of moral element. Hence, morality is about rightness and wrongness. Which is part of moral science, which is part of normative science. Next, it has absoluteness, ethics side. It has absoluteness. That is, universal standards are generally considered absolute. Next, this side. Moral standards are relative. As they differ individual to individual and society to society. So what we are saying is, we have just summarized what we have discussed so far. So when we say ethics, it is universal. It is a science. It is a field of philosophy, you know that. If you have philosophy optional, so this will have also one field which is dealing with normative theories. It is one branch of philosophy. So it is having an academic sense, but morality is just a word, or it is an act which deals with conduct, rightness and wrongness. This we can consider. Then anything that is universal will have absoluteness. Absoluteness means it is across time and space, it is valid. So what is, let's say that universal here means truthfulness. The truthfulness in India also equally it is applicable, in US also it is applicable. Empathy, you need to have empathy everywhere. It is not this place empathy, this place no empathy. It is universal. Peace is also universal. Because United Nations was established for global peace and harmony. So peace is also, let's say that. Compassion is also. So there are some universal standards. And those universal standards are considered absolute, not relative. But moral standards are relative. What is right for me may not be right for you. And what is right for you may not be right for her. It's because we are grown up in a different society. When we are grown up in a different society, the prevailing society has its own rightness and wrongness. It has its own rightness and I gave you one example of two different societies, Western society and Indian society. Because if you give two major society difference, it is easily understandable. Or let's say like Indian society itself, North India and South India. Isn't it? Is there any divide? So North India and South India, isn't it? So South India is considered more cultured. Is it like that? North India is kuch bhi chalega, sorry to say that. Anyhow, nowadays, let's say Bollywood and Southern, let's say that movie is doing better. So basically people say that they are quite cultured. This it is said. Cultured, it comes from their society. Still they continue. This so part and parcel you can say this. Plus let's say rest of the India and Northeast. Right. So Northeast and rest of the India. So rest of the India has a very different moral aspect about Northeast people. They say chinky, sorry to say that. This, it is a slur, racial slur you can say that. But very, let's say easily it is spoken. Right. And people have, some movies are also there on that. Recently one web series was also a movie. Right. Anek. It is. So you will find this. So it shows how we have differences on the basis of society. And that is how, let's say, that moral standards are influenced. This, and it is second class, by the way. Gradually, let's say, your moral standards will also be exposed. So towards end of our class, right, there will be a difference, let's say, what you are today and what you will be that time. So yeah, at times if you feel hurt, so it is how it should be. Don't take, let's say, too much seriously on this. But we cannot teach without taking all these things. Because you know that how they are behaved, like in our society. And they are considered less moral because they are quite open. They have open culture. When they have open culture, the rest of the India is conservative with them. Thus, so we consider them as less moral. So that way we can consider less moral, more moral. So moral aspect, morality will differ person to person, society to society. But ethics has its own universality. That is how it is absolute and morality is relative. But can there be such separation between both? This is how they, let's say. So whether there can be, let's write next. Whether there can be a subheading where there can be a demarcation of line between them. Whether there can be a demarcation of line between them. Whether there can be a demarcation of line between them. That is how they influence each other. How they influence each other. How they influence each other. It is a bit complex to understand. Gradually, we hope you'll understand. So, there can be different possibility. Basically, let's. So, when we say morality, this ethical, conducts. So, let's say that conduct X can be both moral and ethical. Conduct Y, it can be this. There are, let's say, 3 such permutations. This conduct can be even person also. Act also. It depends how we take this. How we'll understand this? Means some of our conducts can be moral and ethical. some conducts can be moral but not ethical. And some conducts can be ethical but not moral. This, how can we take such examples? No, moral and ethical. The moral and ethical means all those moral standards which conform to a universal standard. So they can be considered both moral and ethical. Like it is our societal values in terms of, we consider it tolerance, peace, harmony. It is Indian societal cultural values which India is also propagating toward. This, and they are also universal values. This, our societal norms conform to universal standards. So those people who have their moral standard in terms of tolerance, so they can be considered both moral as well as ethical. But there are some people who are intolerant, isn't it? Intolerant, or let's say that revenge taking, tit for tat, isn't it? Returning in the same coin. No. So it's can be moral but not ethical. This. And there can be a situation where we can be ethical but not moral. Can we say? What is this? The ethical that in formal setting you behave as per universal standards. No. In formal setting you may behave as per ethical standards, but you may not consider it morally correct. No. You may not consider it morally correct. As per your own moral standard, you may not consider it correct. But as a civil servant, you are duty bound to behave in that fashion. Is it? So it can be ethical, but you are not moral. Largely in all formal settings, when we behave, so we behave with ethical standard. But in personal life, we follow our moral standards. Isn't it? So when you behave in formal settings, so you can be considered very rational person. But we cannot understand you unless we see you in personal life. Isn't it? This. So possibility is this. Ethical but not moral. Moral but not ethical. How can we understand by some popular sensitive examples? Isn't it? Let's take, there are some popular but sensitive examples. One is called live-in. Live-in versus marriage. Marriage is also, let's say that, moral and ethical. No. It is considered acceptable behavior, marriage between two different individuals. This. But marriage is done solemnized formally, and live-in is not. Formally it is done. So some people, those who are liberal, right, they may consider, they may accept, or they may have their moral standard, they may accept live-in and marriage both as standards of society. But some people, those who are conservative, they will consider live-in as people with less morality. Isn't it? They will not have acceptance of those people in society. This. And so they may be moral but not ethical. This. And same example which you can say that those who are gay, and gay are fighting for their rights, you can say that. So you can say one gay judge in High Court, and he is not being elevated to Supreme Court. Supreme Court prefers his elevation, but somehow, let's say, inside the story is that he is not being supported. Even openly, Chief Justice in one such speech also mentioned it. This gender has nothing to do with merit and competence. This, or it is individual, let's say, aspect. So somehow his behavior, let's say that, his personal or private affairs of his preference, so which, let's say that ki conflicting his professional elevation or professional, let's say that ki growth, and it is based on our standards, isn't it? We are still not open to talk on these matters much. This, so it depends. If a person is conservative, so he thinks that ki those who are gay, right, they are immoral people. This, those who are liberal, they think it's a matter of two individuals. If they are adult, grown up, they can take decision, isn't it? So that is how the difference we can understand. So there can be possibility of, let's say that this also, we can have possibility of this also, the three relationship. Right. It means that they are not mutually exclusive. It is not necessary that both are in conflict and they are in exclusion. This, rather they are in inclusion. That is how we have to understand this. So there is a statement which can help you to understand. Ethics is empty without morality. By the way, are you able to connect what we are explaining, telling? Are you able to understand? Yes, right. This is all right. So initially we face challenge. After some time, I guess things will change. And initially you have to explain them. Right. You cannot escape to teach other things. Other things are less, let's say, challenging. They are a bit theoretical, and also you have not studied. Our education system is very different. We are not taught these things, isn't it? Or if at all taught, so we do not attend the classes. Right, right. Because moral philosophy is it's nothing but a sort of lectures, isn't it? And we don't want to listen and attend those lectures. No. So that we can consider. So this is how we'll find. So that can be a challenge. This we are trying to help. So if you see, the ethics is empty without morality. So it shows, the statement shows somewhere there is a link between both. That link we have to understand. This. Before we understand it, let's write that part. Then we'll talk on this aspect. Let's see. Even if they have differences, even if they have differences, still there are three different relationships, relationship between morality and ethics. Morality and ethics. First, some conducts can be considered both moral and ethical. Some conducts can be considered both moral and ethical. For instance, Indian societal values, peace, tolerance, harmony, are also universal values. Second, some conducts can be moral but not ethical. They will be related to preference given to societal norms, traditions, customs, and individual belief over universal standards, like conservative versus liberal, conservative versus liberal. For instance, in general, Indian society, is conservative, and it has less acceptance to some liberal emerging trends, like live in LGBT rights, equality to women in all spheres, including in military, etc. Next point. Ethical but not moral. It is a situation in which people have to give preference to universal standards, especially as professional commitment, although their own moral standards will be different from professional standards. Like a civil servant can be selfless. And impartial. But in personal capacity, he may be prejudiced. Changing paragraph. The three types of relations so not a simple relationship between morality and ethics. Rather, it appears they have complex relationship. That even if they have differences, but they are inseparable. They have differences, but they are inseparable. inseparable. That's why it is said that, ethics is empty without morality. Ethics is empty without morality. How will say? So far, is it clear? Are you able to understand? Don't understand, not needed. Anyhow. So, or let's say that. Let's say it is society. They are different individuals, let's say. It can be different tradition, custom, norms. They represent. They all represent different tradition, customs, and norms. And they will all have certain understanding about right and wrong aspect. In any society. Many a time in Western society also you listen or you hear also, isn't it? They have moral debate. In movies also they talk, it is vulgar, isn't it? So many a time we can wonder, because their society is more open society. But still they have understanding of decency, isn't it? So the question is that all the society can have. And let's that if you take this society and they have their own moral standards, what we can draw? Moral standards. And ethical standards come from this. Ethical standards will come from these moral standards. Like we told you, tolerance, peace and harmony. It comes from, let's say, Indian society. There can be another society which can give any other such kind of value, isn't it? Like say forgiveness. Basically Christianity is known for forgiveness type of value. So different tradition and customs together, let's say that they have certain moral standards. They become basis for emergence of ethical standards. After all, how ethical standards have been derived? From where they have been derived? Certainly not from Mars. No. So it is not from other planets, isn't it? They have been derived from this society. So when they have been derived from this society, hence moral standards provide foundation for ethical standards. This we should know that. And it's a continuous process. It is a continuous process. Ethics will create friction in society. Ethics will create friction in society. After some time, you will also create friction in your family. No, ethics thoda aur pad loge. So, more ethical knowledge means, right, you will talk about morality, and knowledge in polity means rights. No, democratic rights. Right. So, you start questioning your own, right, family at least. How you start? Not necessarily knowledge in this. As soon as you grow and your senses grow, so you start questioning also as per your knowledge. And let's say people, those who are, let's say that they have fought for such rights. After all, there may be a time when people may have fought for equality, first time. What was that first time when someone may have talked about equality? No. In family also, first time, women may have talked about equality. Their rights, their voice. So, this is how it happens, friction. Like when we realize that sati practice is not right, there was a time we considered it is part and parcel of society. But then we realized, it is not a right practice. Then it was made unlawful. So then widow remarriage, isn't it? There was a time widows were not allowed for marriage. But socio-religious reforms happen. So it is a friction. So those who were talking, those who were trying to drive socio-religious reform movements that time, they will be considered more, let's say, liberal, rational, this. And they were trying to question those social taboos and evil practices. This, it is a friction. So basically knowledge, when it becomes more rational, liberal, we start also questioning some of those practices which we can consider as social evil, social taboos, you can say that, or discriminatory practices. After all, there was also slave practice, but it was rejected. Then bonded laborer practice, it has been rejected. So somehow let's say that when you are advancing in knowledge, you are trying to question some of the wrong practices. This. So what is that advanced knowledge? Basically people here, those who are growing in different society, they are basically questioning those prevailing values. This, in a way, it results into friction. Friction results into change. So if people will not have that kind of friction, they will not reject those existing values, change will not come. Change does not come in a day. This you should also know. You should know that it was 2009 when the same-sex section 377 was nullified by Delhi High Court in 2009, and still it has not become, let's say, fully lawful. Means we are still, let's say, government has its own view in the court. It's still cases going on. Although in Puttaswamy case, it became clear, but then the government has changed its stand. So change does not come very easily. There is a friction, and that friction is happening because somehow you have a sense of rightness and wrongness, and that sense of rightness and wrongness is broader, going beyond family, society, caste, religion. It becomes more rational. So this moral standard that we have, it is giving rise to ethical standards. And ethical standards are questioning those who are existing moral standards may not be correct as per broader understanding. No. Like recently, if you see Supreme Court and constitutional morality versus social morality, it has been asked also. 2 times it has been asked in ethics paper, and once it has been asked in polity paper. This. So, what is constitutional morality versus social morality? The social morality is related to our tradition and custom. That tradition and custom. We do have all those tradition and customs. Some of the tradition and customs are legally protected. Schedule 5, Schedule 6. Right. We protect some traditional, let's say that, those coming under Schedule 5 and Schedule 6. So even they have legal protection. But in Sabrimala case, what Supreme Court comes? Right. Supreme Court gives equal right. No, women should be allowed to enter in Lord Ayyappa temple. This. Why women is not allowed to enter in Lord Ayyappa temple? Because there is a moral belief, right, of menstrual cycle from 12 years to 50 years. So women from 12 years to 50 years are not allowed. This, because during that phase, Lord Ayyappa, those who believe, they think that women are not pavitra, isn't it? So there is a concept of pavitra and apavitra. Anyhow, right. So, and who has made this concept? Society has made it. It is based on moral standards, and it is more in our society, not in Western society, isn't it? Western society में ऐसा नहीं है, ये हमारे society में this concept, and we don't know whether women would accept it or not. That depends on you, right? But it is an individual. Whether it is you are pavitra or apavitra, it is your individual, let's say, understanding. You deal with your God. Sorry to say that. Isn't it? Because suppose ki basically when we worship, we should be pavitra. Isn't it? When we should be pavitra, when we worship, it is a relation between God and individual. Right. God will punish when the person is not pavitra. Anyhow, but it is a moral belief. And this moral belief is being, rejected on the basis of rational belief, which Supreme Court is saying. The rational belief is that it is discriminatory practice. Right. And every person has equal rights. That is called constitutional morality. And constitutional morality is a universal morality. It is universal standard. Because equality is a universal standard. All humans are equal. Right. All humans are born free and equal. That is how United Nations declares. Right. When all humans are born free and equal, can we have such practices? Yes, we can have. As long as someone does not complain in court. Because the day it is complained in court, court will have to intervene. Anyhow, so what it is happening basically? So in society also, people are continuously, let's say, they're trying to improve, but there is friction. Change will bring friction, your knowledge will bring friction. When you become knowledgeable, you do not believe in all these caste system. Is it like that? When you become knowledgeable, you will not believe in caste system. Right. So intercaste, etc., marriage, you know that. So knowledge brings rationality. If you have, let's say, in true sense knowledge, it brings rationality. Right. And rationality will bring friction. Right. Because you will start rejecting. It is a very big thing. You will start rejecting the things you see. This is called ethics by Socrates. This you should know. Ethics is not a set of principles. Ethics means critical thinking. This, which will relate once when we'll take, that time will also come. What we are trying to say. Then you will know that ethical standards are a bit bigger standards, higher standards, can we say? Ethical standards are higher standards, because moral standards you can set any. No. Taking revenge is easy, following peace is difficult. Right. जैसे आप बात करो पीस का पाकिस्तान के साथ, फिर देखो क्या होता है. तो थोड़ा प्रिकॉशन लेकर के बात करना है. Isn't it? नहीं तो लोग मारने पड़ेंगे. पीस की बात कर रहे हैं. Isn't it? So people are ready to go and take Pakistan, especially media wala. Right. उनका पूरा TRP उसी पर है. And people like it. Right. So peace you cannot talk. So only courageous people can talk about peace. Those who have courage and they can go beyond this. Right, because one day we'll tell you, peace is eternal, war is transitional. Yes. Even after hundreds of war, you will talk peace. So why not talk at first place? Why after hundreds of wars? Yes. Because this is what you have to understand. Anyhow, and society has forgiven. Society has forgiven. You know that. Anyhow, one day we'll talk when we'll take ethics in international relations. What we are trying to say, ethics is of higher standard. That does not mean that we are humiliating moral standards. That way you don't think. Moral standards, since they are based on individual standards, they may not necessarily be high. Because we may not have that level of understanding. We are not exposed to that level of society. So, ethical standards can be very high. Moral standards may not be that high. Like let's take many a time, let's say parents. Parents give preference to their children. There is nothing wrong. Giving preference to their own children is very easy. And behaving in a neutral way and treating others' children also equally is very difficult. Perhaps their own children will leave them. Isn't it? So it is very difficult. But giving preference to your own children is not a selfless behavior. It is a more self-interested behavior, which is also right. But selflessness is bigger than self-interest. Right. Selflessness is bigger than self-interest. It is well proven. So it means that unselflessness is one ethical standard. Nishkam karma, you know, even in Gita philosophy. And Kant, selflessness, he talks. Right. The loftiest philosopher in this moral philosophy. One day we'll also talk that. So selflessness is higher than self-interest. It means what basically we are trying to say. Let's summarize. A society which is not moral cannot be ethical. This you should know that. That's why ethics is empty without morality. This means if a society, if a child who has not learned to take responsibility at very small level, like in house it happens, मान लो आपने ऐसे, let's say that glass was on table and then it gets broken. तो क्या करते हैं? Right. अगर किसी ने देखा नहीं है, right, तो we do not accept it. No, नहीं हमने नहीं तोड़ा. वहां कोई ऐसा रिस्क नहीं है, ट्रांसफर का कोई रिस्क नहीं है. Parents and they will not expel from house. But we don't accept this simple thing. That yes, it was broken by me. Have we said like this very simple? No. स्विच है, आपने ऐसे किया, मान लो ब्रेक हो गया, वो होना ही था. कभी तो वियर एंड टियर होगा, isn't it? But किसी ने देखा नहीं. Then we do not say. Parents ask, कैसे हुआ? पता नहीं. So we do not take simple responsibility. Suppose in office something bigger happens. Will you take responsibility? No. That is how it is said. A society in which people are not having moral standards, it is very difficult that people will withstand to ethical standards. That's why in COVID time, when situation struck and it was a high call, people did not withstand to higher standards. Because in day-to-day life, I told you yesterday, day-to-day life we have chor buddhi, sorry to say that. We are part and parcel of that chor buddhi culture. बस हालांकि कोई रिस्क नहीं है आपके स्कूल में एनसीईआरटी के बुक्स दिए जाते हैं और जो प्राइस टैग होता है वहां पे दूसरा टैग लगा देते हैं isn't it? सबने फेस किया होगा नहीं किया होगा तो एज ए पेरेंट्स विल फेस anyhow and education is basis for teaching values और बुक्स में ही सारा वैल्यू डिस्ट्राय कर दिया isn't it? This happens school wala. Anyhow, in normal times, Warren, if you are living, Warren का culture क्या है? If you go to a fruit seller wala, if you are all alone, if you are all alone, wait. If you are all alone, if he is selling at 150, अब देखा कोई है नहीं, बोलेगा 200. This. So then you kept of your choice. You kept of your choice. थोड़ा सा आपने इधर उधर देखा वो जब जो आपने रखा है वो हटा देगा isn't it? आप घर गए लेकर when you reach home पता चला एक जो है rotten है सड़ा हुआ है you wonder ऐसा कैसे हो गया anyhow you may not have experience but forget about this at times you can have such experience how he is trying to earn not by selling it properly by cheating which is everywhere maybe we are also cheating isn't it हो सकता है so the question let's say that if you talk so act of cheating everywhere this let's say that this is how test of morality there is a test of morality at everywhere there is no high stake there is no high stake high stake comes when you are forced to take bribe and there is a risk of life so then it is a high stake that time our morality is tested in hard times so in professional let's say that life it is harsher in personal life it may not be as harsher but in professional life it is very harsher because your job can go so when we are not habituated to let's say follow in day-to-day life some moral standards we cannot let's say become ethical because ethical demands high standards day-to-day life also we are highly discriminatory can you be impartial no civil services they talk impartiality integrity if you are not honest how can be integrity integrity is a very high thing honesty is a very low thing so that is how the difference we can consider and that is how both are related it means a society which is having high incidence of ethicality it has a strong moral standards and a society which has less moral standards will have less ethical standards and that is how we'll find that our society we can consider and that is how the relationship between them so there is a complex relationship and both support each other even if both are different can we say both are different still they have complex relationship that is how we have to understand and that is how we can consider so to make society ethical you have to make them first moral that is how means you cannot inculcate good character in civil servants unless you inculcate good character in society. Because after all, civil servants belong to society, isn't it? They belong to society. If society is good, they will be also good. It is a long drawn process. A few days of training does not change your behavior. Few days training, let's say that, isn't it? ट्रेनिंग भी हो गया, एथिक्स का भी क्लास हो गया, isn't it? अच्छे लोग ट्रेनर्स भी आए थे, फिर भी क्या है? Right, there is a marriage in which you have taken crores of dowries, isn't it? डाउरी कौन लेता है? IAS, 100 crore, ब्लैंक चेक. कुछ पेरेंट्स ऐसे हैं जो ब्लैंक चेक देते हैं, जो लिखना है लिख लो, बिकॉज उनके पास ब्लैंक चेक ही प्रॉपर्टी है. They have one daughter, they want to marry one IAS officer. They approach Labasna. Then you are in high demand. पैसा आ रहा है तो आने दो. After all, you have that much value. That's why they are giving dowry. No, lots of justification we give. We give lots of justification. So, does it show strong moral value or weak moral value? Right. Weak moral value. Right. It is opportunism. Right. Morality or ethicality means consistency in behavior across situation. Difficult, good situation. Your behavior is consistent. Yes. And those people who have consistent behavior even in difficult situation, they have a strong values. Yes. So that is called integrity. One day we'll define it. So this way you should understand. So you can give justification, but ultimately what you are doing is a wrong thing. You are, sorry to say that, I will not talk on this. So it can become more harsher. अभी दूसरा class ही चल रहा है, isn't it? So later on we'll talk all these things. The question is, same thing you can say other aspects. No, आजकल results आते हैं, results के बाद ही सब कुछ change हो जाता है. Right. पैसा आ रहा है तो आने दो. बस, तो पैसा तो हर जगह आएगा. इससे भी ज्यादा पैसा आएगा. Once you become IAS in the field, तो आने दो. अब वो दे रहे तो हम क्या करें? Isn't it? So that way, what you establish? Less moral society. Its consequence is less moral society. Right. Consequence for you is good wealth. But consequence for society is less moral society. Then it becomes a habit. You work for those people who pay money. Because ethics is also a habit. We'll come to that point. This, the origin of ethics is related to habit. This, and we build a wrong habit. This way, let's say, so let's finish it, conclude it, so let's write on this. Even if they have differences, but they influence each other. First, ethical standards are derived from society. And hence, moral standards of society Moral standards of society. Standards of society. Provide basis for ethical standards. Provide basis for ethical standards. Next. Ethical standards. Yes. Ethical standards continuously promote friction in society. Ethical standards continuously promote friction in society. With a sense of rejection of those moral standards which may be conservative and they may have become less relevant due to changes in society. For instance, the traditional moral belief was that only male and female can have marriage, or they can enter in relationship. That is, marriage had heterogeneous basis. However, due to changes in society, even same-sex marriage is acceptable. In some societies. This change is bringing friction. Next point. It is stated that if a society lacks moral standards, it may not withstand to ethical standards. As the latter is of higher standard. Than that of former one. For example, if a person has not learned how to take responsibility, in family setup, it is difficult to expect act of owning of responsibility by the person in professional setup, or in a difficult situation. Let's change paragraph. In nutshell, it can be stated. Both are relevant. Both are relevant in their own context. Both are relevant in their own context, and they influence each other. They influence each other. Influence each other. For ethical standards, it is important to inculcate. Moral standards in society. That is what we can say is. So, morality and ethics, I guess now you understand the difference between them, can we say? So, both are important even if they are different. Right? So, then we take next aspect is it's called determinants. Determinants of ethics. Let's say, in addition to normative theories, there are other standards. Which influence human character and conduct. They are considered as determinants of ethics. Like first, intention. It is related to the motive behind human conduct. The motive behind human conduct. The motive behind human conduct. Since each and every human conduct can have its own motive, it is important to know it, and there should be a right intention. Behind any human action. there should be a right intention behind any human action. No. So, मीडिया वालों का इंटेंशन क्या है? न्यूज देना या लोगों को लड़ाना? बोथ. सो आजकल ये न्यूज ऐसे ही शो करते हैं कि देयर इज टेंशन इन सोसाइटी. It is portrayed in such a fashion. Although they should be sensitive. The intention behind news is to give news at the same time, ensure the sensitivity that people are not hurt. That is how it is. But we give news without sensitivity so that people are hurt to maximum level. So title of all news channels would not qualify ethical standards. This is sometimes. Title of news channels will not qualify ethical standards. बस आजकल उनका ऐसे ही टाइटल होता है. बस and the language will also not qualify. कोई है स्क्रूटनी ही नहीं है बस in our country. Anyhow, forget about this. So morality is a binding force and wisdom sets individual free to some extent. Someone is asking like, right. See, it depends that how you see this. Wisdom itself is one such moral standard we have told. In fact, achievement of wisdom is a highest standard. This you should know. Aristotle will tell. This. So, it is itself one standard. This. So, how we say it, so it is not, let's say that morality is a binding force, wisdom sets individual free. Morality is not a binding force, let's say that you are morally bound, and wisdom that you are not morally bound. Right. So we may not tell that way necessarily. Although yes, many a time morality is a sort of imposition. You are morally bound to accept even if you do not like. That way we can say. But following wisdom does not mean not becoming moral and ethical. Because wisdom itself is a high level of standard of morality. Right. We can have knowledge, but we may lack wisdom. This you should know. We'll talk one day what is wisdom. So we were saying that intentions, how you should know this. I gave you example of media. So intention behind news and view is to inform people. Basically, media is a medium of communication between the source and destination. So this medium should remain neutral and independent. But since medium is also led by humans, it may not necessarily be. But it should not also go to that level of law. The titles they write in news channels, you know that. It's very disturbing, you can say. It's very, let's say that it can create lots of tension in society. It is humiliating also. So that way we can consider. So intention should be also right. Means motive behind any action should also be right. We don't have to explain much on this. Let's write this. This will take, then we'll take this. Deliberate human action. It's deliberate action. Next point is deliberate action. Since ethics is about scrutiny of human conduct, since ethics is about scrutiny of human conduct, not all human conducts are subject to ethical scrutiny. Ethical scrutiny. Rather, only those human conducts which are considered deliberate, or deliberate human conduct has three parameters. Knowledge, is voluntariness, free will. Awareness. This. Now we are trying to deal some technical aspect. After dealing morality and ethics, we are talking a bit more technicality of human action. So when we say ethics is about scrutiny of human conduct, right and wrong, can we scrutinize any human conduct? We cannot scrutinize any human conduct. We should scrutinize deliberate human conduct. This, what does it mean when we say deliberate human conduct? So suppose someone comes and tells you anything about a third person, that he was telling about you like this. So gullible people will easily believe, मैं अभी बताता हूँ उसको, isn't it? And you will go to that person. So without knowing, no, many people without knowing they will start acting. This. Now you should know, a rational person will try to either ignore it or you will try to know. Right. Why he has said, whether he has said exactly the way he is saying. Or people add, you know that. This, we have habit of mirch masala adding in that. This, so people go on adding this. What is the situation in which he has told? This. So that is called that you try to understand the nature of his action. The situation, nature, intention, all these things you try to understand. And then you should think whether it is a right or wrong aspect. Deliberate. Many a time, let's say, you are walking, you are in train, you are in, let's say that metro, and let's say that some people may step into on your feet also. There can be, let's say, let's hustle, bustle, you know that. Your bag, etc. or shoulder, let's say that rubbing, that can happen. So the question is that it can be deliberate or it can be just because of situation it happens. Isn't it? If someone is deliberately doing it, we say it is stalking also against women. It can be an act of stalking or it has happened just by the situation. The stalking is a crime, you know that. If someone is stalking in your, let's say that behaviors, it is a crime. But if it has happened by chance, by situation, so it is not a crime. So whether it is a deliberate action or indeliberate action, how you will know? So you know that Talwar case, Arushi murder case, and the parents were acquitted. No. Why parents were acquitted? We may not be supposed to be aware. So the court went on saying murder was not intentional. They did not intend to murder. This. The court may have looked into their intention. Second. So it was not intentional, first. Second, it was not deliberate. The murder was not deliberately planned. This, the Howler assessed whether it was deliberately planned. This. So on that basis, court went and acquitting them. This. So nitty-gritty details you can know, I can tell a bit more, but what we are trying to say is, if human action is not deliberate, it is not subject to the same ethical scrutiny or legal scrutiny. Right? Means it is not subject to the same level of legal and ethical scrutiny if human action is deliberate, or vis-a-vis when human action is deliberate. This, how you will come to know. So this is how, let's say, whether you are knowledgeable about your action. Do you know about the action that you are going to take? This is prior knowledge about the human action. This willingness, voluntariness is about act of willingness in you. Right. This, whether you want to do, you do not want to do. And this is choice. Do you have a choice? Alternatives. This free will. How will understand these technicalities further? So anyhow, let's take that. Some people may have prelims and their age also coinciding. Isn't it? Whether you appear or do not appear, it does not matter. Now you have to appear. Because if you do not appear, so age will not, let's say, permit you. The attempts will go west. So they don't have free will. They don't have choice. Right. What choice? Choice to postpone 1 year. Right. Choice not to appear 1 year. Because whether you appear, you do not appear, attempt is counted or it is lost. This. So you don't have a choice. But those people who are having age and attempts, let's say that, means younger, so they have choice. This. So that is how the free will we can take. Now let's see willingness, voluntariness you have. So the person may not be willing to appear, but he is forced. Isn't it? He does not want to appear, but he knows that the attempts would go west. He is appearing even if unwillingly. This willingness and unwillingness, this you can consider. And knowledge, you are aware, right, about the attempts. So that way you can give an example of free will, voluntariness. Basically, let's say that another way we can understand is someone you give a bribe to a civil servant. No. So he is aware that he is taking bribe and he knows that bribe is illegal as per law. Isn't it? He is at least that much knowledgeable, he must be knowledgeable. Now let's question comes to voluntariness. Is he willing to take bribe or he is taking unwillingly? No. So whether people take bribe willingly or unwillingly? Both. Initially unwillingly, later on yes, it can be both, but largely it is willingly. Nobody can force you. This, if you do not want to take bribe, you can be very straightforward in your behavior. This, so many civil servants, they refuse to take, even they don't take gifts. This you should know. There are many ways to influence civil servants. Costly gifts, if you do not take, throw party, right? This, so that way also they can influence you. So there are several ways. Even they throw party, you do not attempt. Those who have integrity, but it is very difficult. So let me share one civil servant, Mahendra Singh Tawar, you may be knowing, he was Municipal Commissioner of Ghaziabad, now posted it to Gorakhpur. So first time he was offered bribe when he was SDM. He did a job, means any work related to projects, etc. an approval process. Generally, let's say projects are in process, they are delayed. He may have expedited the process, approved it. Those who had the projects, they were happy. One day they came with some gifts and token money. And they offered him. Right. So he did not take it. He told that it is my duty to do this work. Hence, I have not done anything that you think that I have done something. Right. I have done my job. Still they insisted. He took it. Right. He took it, and I guess he did not take it. Yes, he refused. Yes, it is another civil servant. So he did not take it, and he went and told to district magistrate. He was offered bribe, this, that, to make it very clear. So you are very clear that whether you want to take, you do not want to take. This. Second is another civil servant is that he took it, but he kept in, the money was kept in public fund. Money is kept in public fund. Utilize this money for public purpose. There can be several ways, let's say. So willingness. Many a time, let's say, when you are studying, whether you are willing to study, you do not want to. Right? So you force yourself. And many a time you may not have choice, as we have told that. I guess you understand these things. These are bit technicality which will help you understanding ethical situations. When you face some questions, you face some case studies, there they will help you understanding ethical situation. From that perspective also you could scrutinize, like yesterday we gave the example of parents selling one child. There we will have to scrutinize his behavior by taking knowledge. Is he aware about, let's say trafficking law? उसको तो पता ही नहीं होगा. उसको तो ये भी नहीं पता होगा कि ये गलत है कि सही है. And is he doing deliberately? Whether he has willingness, he has a choice. These technicalities will come when you will scrutinize the behavior. That is how its relevance. This way we can understand, yes.
If only deliberate action is the object of ethical scrutiny, then why negligence punished?
Yes. Yesterday we told you railway accident example. Right? It is one factor. It is not only factor. Right? We do take also this into consideration. Now even take same railway accident, let's take. Now whether it was a deliberate attempt by all those employees to ignore it, or it is just a culture, it has become a habit, it has happened. So how you do that will be taken into consideration. Now medical negligence. Medical negligence is its defined standard it has. A doctor is expected to follow those standards. And doctor is, let's say that, a knowledgeable person, professional. The professional is not expected that he will lower his professional standards. So negligence, it has its own, let's say that, circumstances plus its professional standards. The doctor is not expected that he will have that, that level of, let's say, professional standards compromise. Because of that, this we can say, this is one such factor we say, that way you should take it. So let's write few lines on this. Deliberate human action. Deliberate human action has three conditions. conditions as mentioned above, as mentioned above. And if all the three conditions are met, if all the three conditions are met, then human action is considered, deliberate. Human action is considered deliberate. However, note, note reads like, note. However, it does not mean if action is not deliberate, the human conduct, if it is wrong, will be forgiven. Rather, other factors will also be taken into consideration. For instance, slip of tongue. Is not deliberate, but cannot be forgiven in all situations. Like those who are working for intelligence agencies, if they share secrets, if they divulge secrets, through slip of tongue, they would be necessarily punished. Is it like that? फिर तो कोई सीक्रेट ही नहीं रहेगा. सो उनको इतना ट्रेनिंग दिया जाता है, उनको ये सब बताया जाता है, सबके लिए ये जॉब नहीं है. सो a person who is an intelligence officer, he cannot even say it was a slip of tongue, isn't it? Because if he even is in intoxicated condition, still he is supposed to apply his conscience. Right. So they are trained that even in drinking condition, means you are, let's say, intoxicated, still you should be in senses. Otherwise, largely, let's say, people can elicit secrets by many means. So you cannot see it is slip of tongue. But in general, let's say that this is a class where there can be a slip of tongue. No, or let's say in any such meeting in family, etc., you can have slip of tongue. So it is not a serious situation. So that way you have to see it. It does not mean if action is not deliberate, so there is a free run. It does not mean that. This is how you have to know. Let's write. Then we'll talk is called next factor is nature of object. Nature of object. It is related to the factors, activities, products, or any such entity living or non-living, living or non-living. All objects have been classified as first positive, second negative, next neutral. First positive, second negative, next neutral. Like peace is a positive object. Peace is a positive object. War is a negative object. Negative object. Act of talking, walking can be considered neutral object. Neutral object. It is expected that in normal situations, in normal conditions, people will follow those objects which have positive nature and will avoid those objects which have negative nature. Yes. So basically, since society has come so far, so society itself has classified many things. No, so some of the animals are harmful, so you try to avoid. Some of the animals you love, they are not harmful, isn't it? Environment, some, let's say that conditions of weather, they are harmful, they are negative. Some conditions are very, let's say that pleasant, isn't it? So we follow it, like it. Similarly, some food, let's say that the foods are largely classified. So those who are, let's say that green vegetables, we can say, so they are considered positive. Junk foods, they are considered negative. So we should avoid negative, let's say, food means junk foods. We should take healthy foods, healthy diets, that we can say. So that will be considered good, isn't it? Some of your friends, or you can have at least one elusive friend who can be very sacrificing, simple, this and that. What I say? And that person is highly appreciated for his simplicity. Another extreme, you can also have a friend. this. So this will fail. But why that person does not get appreciation? But a person who is very simple and he takes simple food, simple living, he is appreciated in society. Why he is appreciated? This simplicity. So it is a quality. Society accepts. No. This quality society accepts. And that is how we can say the positive objects, if you follow, society accepts it and it is considered moral, and negative objects we consider immoral, or let's say that not acceptable. But circumstances can change situation, your, let's say that behavior quality. That's why we will relate with circumstances. No. Like suppose that in normal times, you should not eat junk foods. But when foods are not available, or you are hungry, so whatever foods available you should eat. Isn't it? On examination day especially. On examination day, when we do not carry our own tiffin and etc., generally you are away from parents, so you will not carry. So you will try to eat whatever, let's say during lunch time you get, largely you get unhygienic, unhealthy foods. on healthy day. Isn't it? So that day eating that, let's say that ki burger, whatever you get that time, it can be not healthy, but it is acceptable. Can you say it is acceptable? Why? Because of circumstances. This. But in normal times, eating that junk food is not considered healthy practice. So in some situations, even if an object has negative nature, but it can be considered acceptable. Although in normal times it will not be considered acceptable. This situations will change the quality of behavior, not necessarily nature of object. Like say ki walking and talking, sleeping, eating, they are all neutral. Act of eating is neutral. Act of talking is neutral. Right? It is neither positive nor negative. Situations will make it positive and negative. No. So when let's say that ki in university, in college, and water supply is not coming in your hostel, and nobody wants to go and talk, isn't it? Generally, it happens. Nobody comes forward and talk, and someone comes forward and talk. So talking has a positive nature. And suppose in class you start talking among themselves, isn't it? It is negative. Yes. So that way you can consider, let's say, there are parks, people go and walk, jogging. But jogging is done largely in morning time, not in afternoon. No. Although in ORN you can walk anytime, right? 24 into 7 hours. Right. So basically these are some technicalities to understand nature of object, circumstances, relationship. It means you have to be very, you can say, finer aspect while scrutinizing human conduct. Gradually you will learn it. That we try to see when we have to scrutinize any human conduct, you have or we have to take several factors into consideration. And then we will reach to a conclusion whether it is ethical conduct or unethical conduct. So this is a process to understand this. Now, if you take circumstances, another example which is, let's give. So, act of lie is considered, when we lie, so it is negative. No, we should not lie. But what we say that lie to save life. So can we say it is ethical? Right. Lie to save life. Right. It is considered ethical. Right. Why it is considered ethical? So let's take another critical thinking. Let's say Mr. A and B. She is wife, Mr. A is husband, and she is ill. It's ill health, hospitalized, she needs surgery, etc. etc. It is a very classical case. आज के डेट में ये फौरन सॉल्व हो जाएगा. आप बोलोगे क्राउड फंडिंग कर दो, बट वो वाला ऑप्शन नहीं है. Right. Then you think what should be done. Basically, let's say it demands, let's say, certain, let's 10 lakh, etc. money, but he cannot manage. He cannot manage. Let's say he can manage, let's say 4 to 6 lakh. So he want to, let's say, borrow, etc. Medicines are of high cost, etc. So what he decides that medicines. So medicines he can steal. When he will be able to steal medicine, so this way let's say ki this surgery will be done and his wife will be also operated and he will be able to save life. He faces this dilemma: should he steal medicine? Because stealing is a negative object, right? Act of stealing is negative. But circumstances are different. It is related to saving life. That's also wife life, isn't it? Anyhow, so what he should do? He should steal that time. Later on, he should pay it. Right. Take loan.
I would assume that in ethics there would be a hierarchy of values. So foods would be less valuable than life if we hold life rather than or like those elements.
Hmm.
Life is and care.
Hmm. Yes. Circumstances force that person. Here we have to see intention. The intention is not to steal. Intention is to save life. Yes. Second is that ki circumstances, that it has forced him to do that. This we can consider. The third aspect is that ki deliberate human action. It is deliberate. He knows ki it is wrong or right, this thing. But he faces a choice. Choice is that if he does not steal, then his wife will die. And if he steals, then he will be able to save life of wife. That kind of situation it is, which is old example. Today's examples, it will not fit in today's context because lots of resources are available. This social media, lots of resources. I told you crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is also available. People can easily fund through that. There are some social medias also, some civil society organizations also, which finance and they have their own system. Anyhow, it is a very classical case to give example, which we say also Haynes dilemma. This, the name of the person was Haynes, and from that it became Haynes dilemma. This. So, as per ethics, ethical understanding, he should steal. Right? Why he should steal? As we told, intention, circumstances. Second thing is that act of saving is much more higher order than act of stealing. This, suppose he has stolen and let's that he is punished for that stealing act, still he would be end up saving both lives. This, suppose he ready himself for punishment. Yes, I did wrong thing, you punish. As he did not intend to. Our law wants to punish him. Still, let's say stealing is not a very serious crime. Right. So at least that sentence will not be given. This. So that way you can say that. So this is how cost benefit analysis is done. The essence of this situation is that in some situations, due to circumstances, you can behave by help of negative object and that action will be considered ethical, although the nature of the object would remain same. What does it mean? Stealing will not become a positive nature object. Still it will be negative, but your conduct will be considered ethical. However, you have to justify your situation. For normal people, for theoretical explanation, we can tell, but don't act as civil servant. No, as a civil servant, you have to justify your situation. And if your situation is not justifiable, there can be punishment. Yes. Whether it is a demanding situation. This many a time it has happened. Police, district magistrate orders for lathi charge. Now there is inquiry whether situation demanded this. Even some people may get injured. Even there can be firing. So whether situation demanded it, and you have to justify. If you fail to justify the situation, there is a penalty. There is disciplinary action. Yes, that is how we can say. So let's summarize on this. Yes.
But what if in this whole act of stealing, he ends up hurting someone else's life?
It is hypothetical, so that will not come. Right. It is a hypothetical example. So yes, generally people ask in class this is what if he himself is hurt? Right. Because when you go and steal medicine, so suddenly there will be lots and also resistance. Right. There can be security wala can let's say that ki, see you, so it may end up something else also. Right. But that is a hypothetical situation. That way we will not be able to judge it. Yes, that we can say. Let's write this. Circumstances. Circumstances. Okay. Human actions are influenced by situations and circumstances, especially those who are demanding and challenging, those which are demanding and challenging. In such situations, people may act as per negative nature of object. Like Mr. A act of stealing medicines. Mr. A act of stealing medicines to save life of Mrs. B. Recently there was a situation in Haryana that Ayush Sinha, it is written like this, Ayush Sinha. N SIN. Right. So Ayush Sinha, let's say Ayush Sinha. Right. Right. Ordered policemen to break heads of protesters. If they entered in public premise. which was sharply criticized, but the action was driven by prevailing situation. The action was driven by prevailing situation. Prevailing situation. Hence, no any disciplinary action was taken. No any disciplinary action was taken. Although he was transferred, Just a real life example. So you may be aware, Ayush Sinha, 7th rank. He was SDM, I guess, in Haryana, and farmers' protests going on. So telling this language that break heads of those protesters if they enter in public premise. So it is not a good language, you know that. You cannot tell, let's say, police of personnel to break heads of people. Because you have to serve people. This, the language may not be appropriate, but it is situation, you know that. Situation is that they did not sleep for a few days. Protest is going on. Whole night they remain awake. So they are, let's say that physically, mentally, they are tired of all these things. Because once farmers protests, you know that going on. And that day, the day he told, that day also in police firing, 3-4 people died. This, still actions were not taken.
There was a similar news feed today that some leader of some political party in Bengal was shouting at the police personnel.
Then what happened?
No action was taken since he was a political leader, MLA.
Political leader was shouting or civil servant was shouting?
No, sir, some MLA strategy.
Okay. So these are, let's say, circumstantial things. You should know that. So a civil servant is not supposed to speak in this language. Right? In normal times, it is indiscipline. And there can be disciplinary action. Because you cannot tell other, let's say, personal police that you go and break heads of people. That was criticized, but seeing the situation, you know, in which they are doing their duty and intention behind, whether he was trying to motivate them, because only certain part of the speech was selectively leaked. So we do not know the entire text of the, let's say, speech, what he was trying to say. So taking those all into consideration, basically let's take the circumstances into consideration. Even if language is not appropriate, but still behavior is forgiven. Because it is considered in that situation, let's say, you have to motivate your officers and personnel to deal against that emerging situation. This you can consider. So that way we can take on this. So let's write for the right. Another example you can write. There is also popular saying that one can lie to save life of people. One can lie to save life of people. Life of people. And it is also due to circumstances. It is also due to circumstances. So that is how the relation you can say. Let's write next called consequences of human action. Next point is consequences. Outcome of human action also influences. Outcome of human action. Outcome of human action also influences scrutiny of human conduct. Scrutiny of human conduct as right or wrong. It is led by utilitarian philosophy. It is led by utilitarian philosophy. During COVID time, it became guiding force. It became guiding force for medical fraternity to save life of people. Save life of people. Life of people. Okay. However, some situations can be conflicting. Some situations can be conflicting, and there can be negative consequence, even if one does not intend to, and hence that human action can be considered unethical. For instance, a district magistrate can give order for use of physical force. However, there can be more cost, less benefit. In such situation, there can be disciplinary action. Even if he did not intend to. Use physical force in disproportionate manner. Yes. So, since consequence will talk you later on, utilitarian is entirely based on consequence aspect. But here we are talking with one aspect, the topic we say determinants, these are some factors. Many times you can find a situation, like situation was this, you may be aware about this. I think Dr. Savita case in Ireland. Are you aware? So, she was pregnant, and there was I guess some complications. There may be some complications related to that pregnancy, and therefore there was a choice that you abort that pregnancy to save her life. Abortion in that country was not legally allowed. Yes. So doctors refused to abort. Yes. They went for delivery. In the process of delivery, right, both died. Somehow they intended that they may save either one life, but it did not happen. Yes. So even if they did not intend, right, to let's say have that kind of consequence, but the consequence become like both died, means neither let's say child was saved nor mother. In such situation, what you will say conduct of doctors? Only doctors can tell. No. Yes. That is how, if doctors will not abide by law, so it becomes more challenging. And if they abide by law, it is also challenging, isn't it? Because suppose you do not abide by law, then others will also not abide by law. It becomes very subjective. Because situations, they can say this is also situation demanded not to abide. That's why law obedience is very important. But at the same time, law may take your life, means law may take life of people also. And law is to save life of people, not take life of people. This is how. Interestingly, let's say that the law was amended after death. Law was amended. Now in Ireland, abortion is legal. Are we supposed to change law after death? So where is human wisdom? This is how it questions human wisdom. The collective wisdom of human is questioned. Because you are not acting before that, rather you are acting after that. That's why people become more important than law in some situations. In some other situations, law become more important. But in some situation, people become important. That is how we have to understand. So there are several factors. So these things will further help you in understanding human conduct. This you can say. That is the only relevance aspect. Consequence, circumstances, nature of object, intention, deliberate human action. It will bring more ethicality in your now thinking. Means you will not write ethical, let's say, questions or case study from legal perspective. These are tools and techniques of ethics to scrutinize and let's write as per ethical perspective. When you will use these terms in your answers, so it will give, let's say, ethical understanding. That is how the relevance. This. And then let's say that we have talked next, we finish this here. Next we'll take is how ethics comes, let's say. Right? Evolution. So if you talk basics, let's say, very basic aspect of ethics. So the term ethics is derived from a Greek word, which we say ethikos. And it means, let's say, habit. Or directly we can say character and conduct. How it happens? Basically human. Let's talk about human at early stage, which we will know very less by books, etc. We try to know. So when human may have started behaving, so that behavior may have grown through habits, let's say that. The human can have first habit of, let's say, good conduct. No. This habit become basis for good conduct. Or let's say habit pattern gives rise to conduct. This we can say. Like say ki jogging, people jog in morning, isn't it? The jogging culture कब से आया? It is more recent in origin, isn't it? And it has become a habit. And when it has become a habit, it has become a quality. If you want to have good health, the people will say you should jog. No, go for jogging, walking. But it may not be 20, 30, 40 years back. Very less, this very less will find. Like in our time, if you are living in Old Rajan Nagar, so there is a park, isn't it? In Old Rajan Nagar. And people walk inside also, outside also. Isn't it? This huge rush there. We have also walked in our time. Right. But very less people you will have there walking. But now, almost it has become a kind of habit. You have a habit of something. Let's say you have a routine. You follow a routine. That becomes a habit. That habit gives rise to a character in you, a quality in you. And that can influence your conduct. And then it can influence your behavior. Habit, character, conduct, behavior. This is how the relations. The first we form habit. Habit gives rise to character, means a quality. Quality in you. It influences conduct. And then it influences behavior. This way you'll also know the difference between them. Although in general parlance they are same. This general parlance we can say, we can use interchangeably. Character, conduct, that is how we have been telling so far. But when a bit knowledge has been built in you related to ethics, now we can take this technicality. So a habit is formed. Let's say when Narayan Murthy recently he stayed for 30 years, he did not take any holiday, he and his wife, and he used to go office first, right, again 9 to 9, this is how it is. So that discipline has built a good character in him. Can we say? A good quality in that person, discipline, and discipline results into conduct, better conduct. What is the difference between, let's say, character? First, let's understand character and behavior. Character is the inner quality in human. Behavior is the outer reflection of character. Behavior we can observe, character we cannot. But good behavior is a manifestation of good character. The character is something inside which let's cultivate. You are not born with character. You cultivate it. So that we can consider. So character is on the basis of good pattern, habit. Now, when you have a good character, there is a stable pattern of behavior. And a stable pattern of behavior gives rise to conduct. The conduct is a manifestation of stable behavior. Behavior can be transitional also. No, like we told you that on examination day you can eat burger. It is a transitional behavior. momentary behavior, but that behavior cannot judge your conduct. Right? So still conduct is something inner aspect, it is between character and behavior. And conduct is formed over a period of time. It has a manifestation of stability. You can predict conduct of the people, it is less to predict behavior of the people. This, because you observe people. So when you observe people, you observe their conduct. But in normal parlance, we do not use the term conduct. We use behavior. You are more familiar with behavior rather than conduct. This. But this is the difference you will find the relationship. Because behavior can be peripheral. Behavior can be very changing in nature. It can be transient in nature, this is how I can say. But conduct is a stable pattern as it is linked with character of the person. And character is linked with habit. This. So, good habit will give rise to good character, good conduct, this behavior. And that is how they have given rise to ethics. That is how ethics has emerged. Right? By habit, character, conduct and behavior. That's why we say ethics deals with character and conduct. And then we started talking this first. The origin comes through Socrates. So he has given, let's say, origin means considered by, let's say that art of questioning. Art of questioning. What is art of questioning? So you know, once a question was asked. It has been asked as a question by UPSC. Life is not worth living without question. Yes. So what is questioning? And what basis we should question? Questioning should be on the basis of rationality, logic. So different people can have different logics and reasoning. There can be conflict. No. That's why TV पे तो आजकल fight भी हो जाता है. So different people have different logics, different reasonings, isn't it? You may agree, you may not agree. तो ऐसे तो conflict हो जाएगा.
There's an exam. Can we write Big Boss as an example?
Big boss.
Yes.
For what?
The conflict of questioning.
Right. It is not a right example.
Okay, sir.
But there is rationality. There is rationality. The reasoning and logic should be on the basis of rationality. What is rationality? So anything that is, any thinking which you have on the basis of certain facts, certain objectivity, and you can prove it, you can relate it, this you can consider. Not necessarily scientific on the basis of data, let's say that. Right. There should be basis and logic behind this. This you can say. So there should be certain consistency in your whatever you are going to say. That can be considered rationality. Yes. So, rationality, when he says, there are so many things that people say, as I was giving yesterday example. So, many people say that you can earn money, isn't it? You do this and you will get a job, isn't it? People say this. So, is it rational? It may not necessarily be rational. This. Forget about this, that way we will not reach to any point. This world has evolved on the basis of questioning the existing things. Can we say that? The earth itself, whether it was spherical, no, it was circle, spherical, that kind of things. Earth is made up of which matter? Universe is made up, this, how the society has evolved in that way. So we have been questioning it. In fact, he himself started teaching questioning to his own disciples, for which he was punished. This, he was given death sentence because the state presumed it as sedition. He was something inciting people against state. He was given death sentence. And he was told either to leave this territory to avoid punishment or you would be executed. He decided not to leave territory and he was executed. That is origin of ethics. So don't tell ethics is ideal. जिन्होंने ethics दिया है उन्होंने sacrifice किया है अपने लाइफ को. ये और बात है कि हमें अपनी लाइफ बहुत ही प्यारी है, isn't it? We do not want to sacrifice, rather we want to sacrifice ethics. Yes. That is how the difference. And then his disciple, Plato further took, let's say that, morality, and then his disciple, Aristotle. And these are the three Greek philosophers which we'll teach when we'll take Greek philosophy. The origin, if you say, so he started talking about art of questioning. The origin of ethics is related to rationality. And all philosophers will have one common thing, that is called rationality, which will understand at the end of the day what rationality they are talking. Rationally, they have explained human behavior. So one will explain rationally, let's say human is selfless. Another will explain human is self-interested. And third one is go on explaining human is selfish also. This. From selfishness to self-interested to selflessness. These are the standards, let's say, which determine our ethical conduct. That is how we can say it. So let's summarize, finish here. So let's write on this. The origin of ethics. The origin of ethics is based on critical thinking, rationality and logic. Which was laid down by Greek philosophers. Right. Yes, someone has shared, let's say, right quotation. I was having, let's say, that a bit doubt while writing. An unexamined life is not worth living. It is this correct one? Living, it's 2019. So, on the basis of critical thinking, rationality, and logic, laid down by Greek philosophers, especially Socrates, who is considered as founder of ethics. Founder of ethics. Especially Socrates, who is considered as founder of ethics. Ethics. It has been derived from habit pattern. It has been derived from habit pattern of human. Habit pattern of human, which goes on building character and conduct. Building character and conduct. That's why Greek philosophers gave emphasis on building good character, through rationality and logic. Hence, during ancient time, ethics was influenced by rationality. Influenced by rationality. However, during medieval time, it came under influence of religion. Especially Christian religion. And religious values became principles of ethics. However, in modern times, it was separated from religion. By teleological and deontological philosophers. Which propagate ethical conduct on the basis of rationality. Hence, established standards are rational standards. Rational standards. That's all. Just we gave you a brief aspect. Initially, it was based on rationality. That if you go and see the evolution of ethics, so medieval times it came under influence of religion, especially Western religion. And Christianity and theology, that theological state, all these things became basis to define ethicality and morality. Even in our country also religion has a profound influence. We have religious philosophy, which will teach you one day when we'll talk religion and ethics. Our, let's say, Mahabharata, Gita, Ramayana, they have huge influence. Vivekananda, Buddhism, Jainism, they have huge influence. We bring those values from those philosophy. Like say Satyameva Jayate. This So truth or Ramayana means Ramayana, it is known for truth, Ram Rajya concept. So religion is also basis, let's say. Religion still influences, but in modern times again they separated it. Ethics has its own standards. Ethics is influenced by religion, but it is not religion. Yes, it is based on rationality. What is rationality? We will try to keep knowing. Let's know tomorrow also.